The sky cracked open with a thunderclap. Alexander's ship groaned as waves tore through its hull. Within minutes, the deck split, crew scattered like splinters. He clung to a broken plank, screaming into the wind. Hours passed in stillness. He awoke on jagged sand, soaked, bleeding, alone, no ship. No crew, just driftwood, tangled rope, and a distant shoreline. His leg throbbed. His name, shouted into the void, returned only as wind. Crawling inland, he found no footprints, only silence. That night he crouched under a rock ledge, no fire, no food. The island loomed around him like a sleeping beast. He didn't know yet how long he would survive. But he knew something had already shifted. This wasn't rescue. It was exile. Day one, hunger gnawed like a slow blade. Alexander limped along the shore, scanning for wreckage. He found a barrel of hardtack, a water cask, and a torn jacket, gifts from the sea. Birds circled above, but none landed. He built a lean-to from driftwood and palm leaves, hoping the wind wouldn't tear it apart. At night, distant howls echoed from the jungle. He gripped a sharpened stick, heart pounding. No rescue flares, no sails, just stars staring down. He whispered names of crewmates, just to hear voices. His own voice cracked. The island didn't feel deserted, it felt watchful. Something unseen paced just beyond the trees. He told himself it was only fear. But fear doesn't leave footprints. He made fire on day 4, rubbing flint from his belt buckle against dry bark. Flames danced, and for a moment hope returned. But when he slept, the fire died. He woke to wet ashes and strange symbols drawn in the sand nearby, not his. He circled the area, nothing, no creatures, no people, just marks like runes. He tried erasing them, but more appeared each morning. On rocks, on bark, one carved deep into a tree trunk. Listen. He sat for hours listening. The wind whispered like a voice just out of reach. He began talking to it, asking questions. Each time, silence answered. But silence was no longer empty. Rain came like punishment, thick sheets that turned paths to rivers. His shelter collapsed. He moved into a shallow cave, shared with bats. Each night he heard scratching. At first he thought it was insects. Then he saw lines drawn in soot on the cave wall, crude maps, circles, an eye. Were they warnings, messages? He tried redrawing them outside, but they vanished by morning. He hunted rats, roasted crabs, drank rain. Days blurred, he stopped counting. His skin darkened, clothes rotted, beard tangled. Once, in the cave pool, he saw his reflection, and for a second it looked back at him differently, as if the island was trying on his face. He built a calendar from stone markers, one for each week. By month 4, the tide patterns had changed. The stars seemed unfamiliar. His dreams grew vivid, sinking ships, voices beneath waves, a woman singing in a forgotten tongue. He carved her into driftwood, but her eyes bled sap. One morning, he found a trail of shells leading inland. He followed. At the end was a clearing, stones arranged in a spiral. At the center, a half-buried compass that once belonged to his captain. But the ship had gone down far from this place. How did it get here? He pocketed it, the needle spun wildly. North had left him long ago. He followed the spiral back to the clearing for days. But each time the jungle had shifted, paths disappeared. Trees moved or memory failed. He tied vines to mark his way, but the knots vanished overnight. He stopped exploring. He started carving. Symbols, faces, stories. He wasn't alone, at least, not in memory. He spoke to shadows. They didn't speak back, but they listened. He told them about the storm, about hunger, about guilt. His voice grew gentler with them than it had ever been. With men, in the hush between waves, he thought he heard them answer. Not in words, but in warmth. Dry seasons scorched the land. Streams shrank. Coconuts soured. He ate worms, lizards, anything that moved. His skin blistered. Fever dreams came often. In one, he saw a boat offshore, but it was made of bone, and it bled into the tide. He screamed until he woke. Then one night, real firelight danced between the trees. Shapes moved, human or not. He called out, no answer. He chased them barefoot, heart wild. In the morning, he found only footprints, three-toed, deep, not his. And on the tree, nearby, another word carved deep. Wait for what? For rescue? For ending? For remembering? He stopped hoping for ships. Instead, he sent smoke for the sky messages meant for gods, not men. He built effigies, burned his carvings, sang songs made from wind and wave. He found a cave of bonshamen arranged in circles, skulls stacked with pebbles in their mouths, a ritual, a warning. He whispered prayers from every faith he knew. That night he dreamt of the ocean rising, swallowing the stars. When he woke, tide had crept far inland, water touched his shelter. He took it as a sign must move, or the island would take him, body and all. He moved uphill, where dry earth cracked like old skin. He built a shrine, stones, branches, the last of his rope. He offered his knife to it. Something shifted, his dreams grew quiet. He began writing again, scratching stories onto bark, speaking into hollow logs, pretending someone might one day find them. 1,000 days had passed. His voice was rough, but his heart no longer frantic. He had learned the island's mood silence before birds flee, the twitch before rain. He walked barefoot. Now, knowing the paths, the island had shaped him. And he, in turn, had named its hidden places. One morning, he found a boy sitting by the shore, brown skin, silent, watching the sea. Alexander approached gently, but the boy did not speak. When he touched the boy's shoulder, his hand passed through, a vision, a memory. The boy stood and pointed inland. Alexander followed, deeper than ever before. There he found a waterfall glowing faint blue. In its basin, a stone disk. Etched in it, 1583, he gasped. That was not a number he'd spoken aloud, not even once. He took the disk, the boy vanished. But something had begun to turn. Storms returned with anger. Lightning clawed the sky, and fire consumed part of the forest. The island moaned at night, like a wounded beast. Alexander took refuge in an ancient hollow tree. He felt its heartbeat beneath the bark. He heard voices in the wood telling him stories not his own. He wept without knowing why. The boy returnedly in dreams now. Always pointing, always silent. Alexander followed, dream after dream, through fire, through caves, through roots. And each time he woke, another part of the island had changed, moved closer. He built a raft not to escape, but to offer the sea his story. He tied his carvings, his journal, the discal to the raft. Lit a torch, whispered goodbye, and let it drift into the horizon. He didn't watch it disappear. He turned inward. Began walking new paths. One day he found a cracked mirror in the jungle green with moss. In it he saw not himself, but the boy a gun older now, and smiling. Behind the boy stood a crew, his crew. But they weren't ghosts. They were waiting. He climbed the highest cliff, barefoot and steady. Wind howled, waves crashed far below. He carved one final mark into the stone, a circle with a dot at the center, his symbol, his ending. Then he sat, closed his eyes, breath deep. The island didn't feel cruel anymore. It felt like home, like something he had been part of long before the wreck. Maybe he was never stranded. Maybe he had returned. The sun set blood-red that day. But he didn't move. He let the island have his own final time. Years later, explorers found the island drawn by strange lights. They discovered carvings, shelters, shrines. In a cave, they found bark scrolls, names scratched in stone, and a raft caught in coral, untouched, no body, no bones. Just silence. Still pulsing. One explorer swore she heard someone whisper her name from the trees. When she turned, a boy stood there, smiling, then gone. The report was never published. But among the scrolls, one phrase returned again and again. He was not stranded. He was chosen.